How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Push Start to Listen, where we take a look back at the week in video game news. And things are a little bit different this week as we're right in the thick of things, as it's time for everybody to come together and announce a ton of new video games. E3 kicks off today, the day that you're watching, tomorrow for me, and Summer Games Fest was yesterday for me, 2 days ago for you. So plenty to talk about, as tonight we're going to have a couple of news stories unrelated to Summer Games Fest Kickoff, but the majority of the episode is going to be a recap of everything that we saw. Why don't we get right into it? I think it's probably best to kind of combine the odds and ends for this week into one lump story rather than divide everything out, because obviously we're here to get to the meat and potatoes, which is all the announcements from the Summer Games Fest. So a couple of things to talk about before we get into that. The first of which is Microsoft announced plans to start integrating Xbox technology into televisions and streaming sticks. Think things like the Amazon Fire Stick, Roku, stuff like that. Basically what this means is they're hoping that they can potentially get Xbox technology, meaning Game Pass, built into televisions. And think about how easy that would make things for people that don't have a console or maybe only have a PlayStation, or they get a brand new TV and it's like, oh, I can get Game Pass for, I don't know, however much, $10 a month built right into my TV. I don't have to go buy an Xbox to have this. They're going to pick up a lot of customers. This is just another example of the game that Xbox is playing versus the game that Microsoft is playing versus the game that everybody else is playing. I've said this countless times. They are 100% playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Next up, real quick, as part of Netflix Geeked Week, is that they announced the Cuphead cartoon is coming, and King Dice will be played by Wayne Brady. I really, really love Wayne Brady. I was a huge fan of Whose Line Is It Anyways when I was growing up. I loved everything that he did on that show. I thought he was pretty much the heart and soul of that show. I mean, not to take away from anybody else that was incredible on it, but really Wayne Brady was kind of, the scene stealer every single episode that he was in. I really enjoyed his brief run as Barney's brother on How I Met Your Mother, showing that he can, act, not just do the improv comedy stuff. I think Wayne Brady is finally getting the kind of credit and respect he deserves for being so quick-witted and, just being able to do that level of improv night in, night out. And for the most part, all of his stuff always landed. If you want to see some cool stuff he did recently, he just did a stream with Mark Rebier, also known as Loot Daddy. Absolutely killer stuff that he did. I am super excited to see that he's a part of the Cuphead cartoon. And the Cuphead cartoon looks pretty nice. It's not quite the level of animations the game achieved, but it's as close as you can get. And I think it's a neat concept. That, concept of Cuphead and that style that is like tailor-made to transition out of the video game world and into the television world. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then last up, before we get into the rest of the episode, was right before the Summer Games Kickoff happened, we got the announcement of the next Battlefield 2042, and it looks pretty good. It's a nice change of pace, going back to slightly in the future technology, not quite what they did in the past with Battlefield 2142, where you had like mechs and things like that, but you get to see a very kind of Boston Dynamics inspired robotic dog that can help you in the field. No single player for the game. It is multiplayer only. No battle royale for the game either, which is actually kind of nice that, not every game is, really kind of hanging their hat on having battle royale. Instead, we are going to get a different kind of large-scale multiplayer mode that they didn't talk about but said that they would in the future. It looks like beta signups are going to be happening over the next couple of months or so. The game is going to feature dynamic weather, changing the levels during multiplayer matches, and it's little touches like that that I think could potentially bring the series back to the forefront. I think it was just last week where I was talking about how they hired ex-Call of Duty employee or ex-Call of Duty staff to become the new general manager of the franchise, and hopefully this gets them where they need to be, kind of back up top, competing head to head with Call of Duty for, who's going to win the first person shooter race for every year. Call of Duty has definitely been killing it lately. I said last week, and I still do believe this, they misstepped with Cold War, and this is Battlefield's big chance to kind of gain some momentum back and, maybe become the choice for first person shooter fans this fall instead of Call of Duty. All right, so we have a lot to talk about with Summer Games Fest Kickoff, hosted by Jeff Keighley. This is his event. I want to say overall thoughts on the show before we go blow by blow. I obviously couldn't do the live reaction actually, this happened during the workday yesterday for me, so I made notes as I watched it and figured I would just do the recap tonight. Overall, I really like the show. I think it's super cool to have a big, large-scale show that gets large-scale titles that come from everywhere. It didn't matter what publisher you were, what platform you were going to be on. Everybody, was fair, had a fair shake here. Of course, we're used to seeing the big PlayStation conferences and Xbox conferences and all that stuff, and we're still going to have a Microsoft conference this weekend and all that, so you get that more traditional E3 feel, but I really liked having this. I liked being able to maybe get games that wouldn't have gotten shown beyond a small few second clip in, let's say, like when Microsoft announces, oh, here's 100 different indie games that are going to be coming to the platform some point in the future, and you get these very quick hits throughout the video of, just a few seconds of gameplay, and instead at the Summer Games Fest, we got, a full-fledged trailer for the game. I thought the musical performances, there were two, one by Japanese Breakfast, one by Weezer, they didn't take away. They didn't feel like they were out of place because both were actually tied into a game. Both artists provided music for the game that was playing behind them, so it was essentially a trailer with a live soundtrack. It didn't feel odd, it didn't feel weird, it didn't feel like, okay, we just talked about video games for 30 minutes, let's stop and now everybody listen to this Weezer song. It still kind of maintained a flow, and it had a purpose. It wasn't there just because they signed some promotional deal with Weezer's record label to pimp the new record. It was there because Weezer's actually involved with a video game. So yeah, I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was pretty damn cool, but let's run things down. I have all of my notes written in chronological order, so this is as it happened throughout the show. Some games I'll talk about a little bit more in depth, the ones that piqued my interest. Other ones, we're just kind of get right through it. So the first thing that we had was Wonderlands, which is the Tiny Tina spinoff from Borderlands. It's coming out next year. They had Ashley Birch, the voice of Tiny Tina, come out on stage, talk about the game a little bit. It's apparently very similar to a DLC for Borderlands. I've never played the Borderlands games outside of, I put a few hours into the first one, so I'm not familiar with the DLC, but from what I heard, it is very heavily inspired by that. So for fans that played that, I'm sure they are very excited. It was pretty much inevitable. They had the long rumored, Borderlands is going to become Border Worlds and it'll be an MMO. I don't think that was ever going to happen. The MMO genre is pretty much, it's dead and buried at this point for the most part. I think that this is the best possible thing they could do. Borderlands 3 was fairly well received, so why not spin it off with a character that, from what I can tell, draws 50-50. Some people like Tiny Tina, some people don't, so I'm sure the game will sell. It has a different enough look from Borderlands to set itself apart, so yeah. Second was Metal Slug Tactics, coming out from .emu. If you've watched this channel, if you know me in person, I am a huge Neo Geo fan and a huge Metal Slug fan. This game is right up my alley. I do feel like that as I get older, tactics games are kind of starting to become a little more difficult for me to get into, depending on how hard they are. Into the Breach was the last one that I really played and enjoyed, but even that, at some point, I was just like, you know what, I think the difficulty is maybe getting a little bit too much for me, but I still very much enjoyed the game. I will be checking out Metal Slug Tactics as soon as it comes out. Can't wait. After that was Death Stranding's Director's Cut for the PlayStation 5. Kojima was in control of this game, so I'm not really sure why there's a Director's Cut, unless this is just like deleted stuff he felt like didn't really need to be in the game. I don't really feel like Kojima's the biggest like self-editor, so it's just kind of a weird name for this, but to each their own. I honestly thought it was just going to be a port, a native PS5 version, but it's not. So Director's Cut. After that was Jurassic Park Evolution 2, coming out this year. This is the follow-up to the kind of build your own Jurassic Park isometric, I don't want to say like real-time strategy game, but think of like Roller Coaster Tycoon meets Jurassic Park. Evolution was very well received, and I think it's awesome that they're willing to, make a sequel to it. You don't get a lot of sequels to games like that. People make them because they're a passion project, and then, they sell enough. Most, let's be honest, games like this don't sell enough to really warrant them being called a success, but this one obviously did, so we're getting some more of it. Next up was the live performance by Japanese Breakfast. They played the trailer for Sable. This is a game that's been around for a little bit. I think it's popped up here and there elsewhere. It looks, neat. Not a game for me, but it looks neat. Next was something that looked very much like Diablo, which is Lost Ark, which apparently has been out elsewhere in the world and is now finally coming to America or North America, or I guess maybe everywhere that's not. I think it's from Korea, so I guess everywhere that's not Korea is getting it. I thought it looked pretty rad. I love the Diablo games, and I'm very much looking forward to the next one. Actually, that Magic the Gathering game that either just came out or is coming out that's very Diablo inspired, like, even that's kind of got me like, oh man, I think I'm ready for another game like this. It's been a while since Diablo 3 came out, but I thought Lost Ark looked pretty cool. Next up was the new Call of Duty season trailer. This is for season 4, I believe, of Cold War. Cold War is not, I don't think it's what people wanted out of Call of Duty, but for the people that are playing it, you're getting something, and it's coming out next week. They then showed a trailer for the Ryan Reynolds movie Free Guy. After that was an Among Us update. Looks like they're having a new mode for hide and seek, and new colors for the characters. I've never played Among Us. I am familiar with it. My daughter plays it, I think. So I've heard enough about it that I'm familiar with it, but not a game that I play. Then they played a trailer for Chicory, which is out now, I believe, on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I think it could only be PlayStation 5. I'm not sure. Some of these trailers at like the tail end, it was during the workday, so it wasn't like, oh, I could stay super focused on this stuff, so I might have missed release dates or might have missed some of the platform stuff, but it had a very nice art style. Next up was, like, I don't know if they're considering this a sequel or not, but it's a new game from the people that made Salt and Sanctuary, and it's Salt and Sacrifice, coming out for PS4 and PS5 next year. I saw a lot of people gushing about the art style. To me, nothing super grabbed me. Maybe if I go back and watch the trailer again, it would, but when I was watching the reactions that people were having, everybody seems super pumped about this. So for those that were fans of the games, I think that this is a very, unexpected but very welcome surprise. All right, what's up next was trailers shown for Solar Ash. I believe we saw that last year in an event, possibly the Game Awards. I'm not positive. Coming out for PS4 and PS5 this year. It has a very interesting art style. I think there's starting to become a lot of games that are looking like this or kind of having that same style. You see a lot of like pastel, like pinks and purples, and our environment is always surrounded kind of by like mountains, and it's very like deserty, like an infinite desert kind of thing. Not quite Journey, but like a very stylized Journey, maybe like a more artistic take on Journey, I guess. Chivalry 2 launch trailer was shown. The game's actually already out. I played a lot of the first Chivalry. I don't know if I have time to jump into Chivalry 2 because other games are coming out. Like today, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart came out. It's installing on my PS5 right now. Cannot wait to play it. But Chivalry 1 was a great game. Chivalry 2, from what I've seen online, I watched a little bit of gameplay of it. It seems more of the same, and people are really enjoying it. Trailer shown for the next episode of Valorant. I know nothing about Valorant. Trailer shown for a new area for Escape from Tarkov. I know nothing about Escape from Tarkov. Then, a big one for me, they finally officially, after it was leaked, announced 2 Point Campus, which is coming out next year, made by the people who made 2 Point Hospital, also made up of people that worked at Bullfrog, that worked on Theme Hospital. Beloved game for me. I spent so much time with that game as a child. 2 Point Hospital is a game I need to play. I don't know why I haven't played it. I bought it the day it came out, and I just never started it. It is right up my alley. It is everything I am asking for in a game, and I guess I've just never found time enough to sit down and play it, but that needs to change, and it will change because I'm so excited for 2 Point Campus. It looks great. A lot of great jokes in there, like a medieval setting. It's night school, I'm really excited for this, and it's going to make me play Two Point Hospital as soon as I can. Then we got a trailer for Netflix Geeked Week, which is Netflix's kind of like, hey, all these shows we consider are things that nerds watch, so let's give you some news and updates on your nerd shows. And they announced some new shows. They announced today like a new Resident Evil show is coming with Lance Reddick in it. They talked about some Witcher stuff. The one that I was looking forward to is seeing when the next season of Cobra Kai is. A big Cobra Kai fan. Smite, which is a game I'm only familiar with because I seem to always get a notification on Twitch about it. They're getting an update with Stranger Things. The next one, I wish I had time to dig into. I didn't. It was a trailer for Saber Interactive Games and a new studio or a new publisher that they are starting called Prime Matter. It was like a lot of trailers all at once. It was like 12 games were announced like within like a minute and a half. And I think one of them was Payday 3, which if that's true, that's amazing. I played a ton of Payday 2. I loved that game. Sorry I didn't get to do any research on that before starting the show. Between yesterday and today, I didn't have a ton of time. I was actually chasing down leads on a big toy purchase that should be completed tomorrow, so that kind of had my attention and my focus. I was doing a lot of research on that, so I didn't get the chance to look this up, but I will at some point, and if it is important enough to talk about, I'll bring it up later on. Next up was the Anacrusis, which is coming to Game Pass, which looks pretty cool. Very like 60s style vibe to it, but it takes place in outer space. Looks like it's cooperative 4-player experience. That looks pretty neat. Those games are always really tough for me. I don't really have anybody else to play games with. Now that my wife is playing games, it's possible that maybe we could play it together if they allow for split screen, because we only have the one Xbox, unless maybe PC can interact with Xbox on it, so maybe we'll be able to play it that way. Following that was the former Fast and Furious content that is no longer in Rocket League is coming back to Rocket League because the new movie is coming out. A Vampire the Masquerade universe game called Blood Hunt is coming out. I guess it's a battle royale. I didn't get that feel from the trailer that it was, but that's what it seems to be. It does seem to be a battle royale game. After that is a new Dark Pictures anthology game. It's American and Iraqi soldiers trapped in a temple. It's called House of Ashes, coming out this October. It's a neat setting for a game. It's a neat concept for a game. I want to see how far they go. If you truly have interaction with like the Iraqi soldiers, would they be speaking, Arabic theoretically, and you don't understand it? Like, what if you need to communicate with them and the game doesn't give you subtitles and actually does make you feel like a fish out of water? To me, it's reminding me of the episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Darmok, where Picard can't understand the person he's trapped with, and they have to figure out a way to communicate because they just don't speak the same language. If they go that far, it could be an absolutely fascinating game, but we'll see. A new Tales game, Tales of Arise trailer shown. Planet of Lana trailer, that looked very nice, coming to Xbox and PC. Really cool art style. It showed a little girl traversing. She had like this like dog-like animal with her. It looked very like peaceful and serene, almost like a Studio Ghibli film, but then you saw like spaceships like crashing out of the sky and stuff, but very nice. It looks not quite hand-drawn art, but it looks a heavy emphasis on the aesthetic for that game, it looks like. Overwatch 2 skins, to be honest, I couldn't care less. They showed Dark Alliance gameplay with Ember Moon, the WWE wrestler, and Hannibal Buress. The game is out next week. Trailer for Paladins. They're having new skins from something called Genlock. Trailer shown for Monster Hunter Stories 2. Weezer then came out and played the song from that they have in the game Wave Break, which you haven't seen that. It's like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but instead of skateboards, it's boats. It's pretty weird. New footage from Endless Dungeon. They did some talking about Ratchet and Clank because as of yesterday, the game wasn't quite out yet. It was coming out last night, so get that last bit of hype. But I think everybody that was interested in Ratchet and Clank pretty much drove out to pick up a physical copy today, or started downloading it last night. They had an interview with Giancarlo Esposito, who is the villain in Far Cry 6, which was hilarious because the makers of the game have been really skirting that line, going back and forth, like, is it a political statement? Is it not a political statement? At first, I think they said that they were trying not to make a political statement, which is total garbage. They absolutely are. I don't know why everybody is so afraid to say that when they write a script. People don't have a problem saying that they're making a statement when they make a movie or a television show or write a song. Why is it so difficult for people that make video games to say that they're making a statement? And then I had to laugh hysterically when Giancarlo Esposito said that one of the reasons why he wanted to play the role is after reading the script, he loved that it was making a political statement. So there you go on that one. New skin for Fall Guys. I don't know what that skin was from, but people seemed very excited about it. New update for Genshin Impact. Then they did this thing that was really weird. They debuted a new developer, Deviation Games. It's formed by two people that worked at Treyarch, that worked on Call of Duty. They're partnering with Sony, so it looks like their first game, which is, obviously a new original IP, will be exclusive to Sony. Instead of talking about the game, because I think they honestly don't really have anything to talk about yet, they show these like weird photos of like the entire staff like hanging out on an escalator and stuff. It was kind of odd. They did a symphony performance with the Sonic the Hedgehog symphony, which sounded pretty cool. Back for Blood update. I think they're showing actually some of the game off today, for those of you that are watching. Game's coming out in October. Makes sense. Horror themed game. They talked about the ID and Xbox demo event, very similar to the Steam demo event. There will be a bunch of demos to download on Xbox. Then they kind of focused on Tunic, which is one of the games that will be part of that. They showed a game called Tribes of Midgar, which is coming to PlayStation and PC. They showed Evil Dead the game, which to me reminded me a lot of the way the Friday the 13th game looked. Not the asymmetrical multiplayer where it's like 4 people against another person controlling Jason. It just looked like it. There was something about the art style, about the way that the game moved in the trailer that made it really seem like that game. I think it's just going to be more of a cooperative 4 players play against a horde of the undead, I guess. And then we get to the big one, the showstopper, the show stealer, the one that everybody was talking about, Elden Ring. They showed off the trailer. The game does exist. It is coming out. They said it's coming out in January. That game will get delayed. Hate to break it to you, that game is going to get delayed. I don't think that game is coming out in January, unless they are like damn close to being done with it. I'm not going to try and be negative. Those games are not for me. I cannot stand the Souls games. To me, they all look the same. This game doesn't look that different at all. I saw numerous comments of people being like, man, this really does look a lot like Dark Souls. This looks like it could be Dark Souls 4. I really wanted more out of it. And that's a minority of people, I'm sure. But I think that sentiment is there, that it's like, hey man, this game got really hyped up, and it's not their fault that the game got hyped up so much. To be honest, they weren't even egging it on. It's not like the Cyberpunk people that were egging it on constantly, because this game has been like in the dark for 2 years. So it wasn't that. It was people just building it up in their own head, and maybe there was a hint of disappointment once it finally got revealed. But it is what it is. I know a lot of people that are going to consume that game until the seasons have changed multiple times. That game is going to be played for hours and hours and hours by, I'm sure, everybody that picks it up, because the people that love those games, they are fanatical about those games. And it's awesome to see people get excited for games that mean so much to them. You saw just pure joy and pure excitement for people to see that Elden Ring was actually coming out. It's not for me, but I can respect it as for other people, and I am excited for them to be so excited about it, because I get very excited about games sometimes that other people aren't interested in. So it's nice to see that they're getting everything that they wanted. Woo! All right, we are finally done talking about Summer Games Fest Kickoff. Time to wrap up the show. This has gone long enough. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping, as we always do around here to round off our episodes. Let's talk about the schedule this weekend. So the day that you are watching this, which is tomorrow for me, today for you, tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. on Saturday, I will be doing the Ubisoft presentation. I'm going to do my reactions to it as soon as it is filmed. I have it filmed, the event is done, get it edited as soon as possible and dumped right up onto YouTube for people to check that out. Sunday, I will be covering the Xbox Bethesda showcase and the Square Enix showcase. There's nothing on Monday, and then on Tuesday, I will do the Nintendo showcase, but that will not come up until much later in the day for me. That's, again, in the middle of a work day for me, so I have to wait until I'm done for the day to be able to film my reactions to it, but it will be up there, so lots of stuff coming onto the channel. So now that all of the E3 stuff is out of the way, I want to thank everybody who checked out the 2 most recent videos on the channel that aren't Push Start to Listen. The Arcade Light Gun game video. I'll get it one of these days. I'm kind of going on empty right now. The Arcade Light Guns the video I did about shooting things at the arcade that came out. I want to thank everybody that watched that. The new show that debuted, the Push Start Quick Hits, where I took a look at Nitro Ball, which is a very weird and sometimes frustrating mix of Smash TV and pinball. Another Push Start Quick Hits is coming up soon. It won't be out this coming Monday because I don't want to get it swamped in the middle of E3 stuff, but the following Monday will be out, and then after that will be part 2 of my look back at my personal nostalgic games. Part 1 is already up on the channel if you want to check that out to get ready. Part 2 continues, kind of covering out the rest of the Super Nintendo games that I feel like a really strong nostalgic connection to, and then once that's done, we'll start moving on to other systems. So look for those in the future. But yeah, I'm starting to lose my voice because I talk very fast, I'm sure you are well aware, and I don't have anything to drink around right now, so I'm going to head out before I lose my voice because this weekend, a lot to talk about. Microsoft, Bethesda, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Nintendo on Tuesday. Let's get into it. This weekend is going to be great. When I'm not checking out that stuff, I'm going to be playing Ratchet & Clank. Let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to in E3 or what you really liked out of the Summer Games Fest Kickoff, and then tell me what you're playing this weekend because this is kind of like National Gaming Weekend, right? E3, Games Kickoff, Battlefield's coming out, Weezer's playing. I listened to the new album today, it was fine. Lots is going on, so yeah. But check out everything that's coming over the next few days, and then I'll be right back here next Saturday for another episode of Push Start to Listen. I hope everybody has a good night. We'll see you real soon.